Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We have a very exciting call today. We are joined by Isabel. Say hi, Isabel.
Hi.
So I started working with Isabel a few months ago now. I genuinely still remember our first call like it was yesterday. When I met Isabel, I genuinely jumped on the call and I was like, whoa, okay, this girl has a lot of potential in this space. However, she had a lot of fear around starting this journey. This was something that was a completely new concept for her. So we sat on our call for a long time, kind of unpacking fear, a little bit of objection handling from my end, I must admit, because I genuinely knew if we could get her in, she would do very well. And obviously here we are. She was able to take the leap and we got to work. So at the time, I know Isabel was worried about making the investment into herself. Into an online mentorship, thinking, it wasn't going to work and making online money was a scam. It wasn't real, or maybe it happened to others, but it wasn't going to happen to her. I know a lot of the girls in my program felt that way, including myself when I got into it. Not knowing anyone in the industry, or your friends and family have no idea what this industry is, so it can seem very much like an alien concept. And like we said, of course, investing in mentorship was a complete new concept, like it is for many. But luckily, she was able to put that fear aside, and here we are. So she has now gone, which is absolutely incredible, to 8x her income in her first ever month on her new role, and she's made $8,000, which is just insane. I know Isabel's story will definitely resonate with a lot of girls watching this, feeling burnt out. Before, Isabel was working as a hairdresser for years, really, not actually ever making the money that she wanted for the hours that she was working, the money that she really deserved. And obviously now with sales, it's a kind of a complete new ball game where you really do get out what you put in. So Isabel's journey has definitely had some ups and downs for sure. It hasn't just always been sunshine and rainbows. It's been a little bit of a journey to get here, but she has never quit, which is what I absolutely love about this story. So here we are today. Let's just dive in. So for yourself, Isabel, I'd love for you to start off with kind of your personal story. Like, what was it about high ticket sales for you that made you get in touch and made you curious about, starting this journey?
Yeah, so it's honestly a bit of a crazy story. Like you said, I was hairdressing for about 5 years, working 12 hour, 14-hour shifts with like 10-minute lunch break at 6 in the afternoon. Like it was just not it's not easy. And I've always been the type that I loved working. Like I've just always had that drive, but I found it very frustrating working so many hours and then not getting much in return.
Mm.
Um, so pretty crazy. I got a bit burnt out and I just decided to move abroad, like across the country, across the world. And I was just like, let me figure it out. So I got into like a little upselling retail store for a few months and fell in love with the selling part of it. And I was on this little island, and this island is like full of really rich people. And I'd always ask them, like, what do you do? Or they would be like, you should be in sales, like actually, like not retail sales, like go into sales. So I just started doing my little research. I was like looking online, like, what is this? Like, it's such a new concept. And yeah, and then I found you, Shelley, and absolutely loved how genuine you are. And you were very like, this takes work, it takes effort. It's not just you wake up one day with a bank account full of money, which does happen, but after the work. So that's kind of how I fell into sales a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And that's super interesting. I didn't actually know that full kind of backstory of kind of why you moved across the country and kind of how you got here. So do you think you had any limiting beliefs around sales at first, kind of getting into like the online sales space?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was completely limiting belief. I felt like my own imposter. At first, it was just a bit because I think not you, but a lot of people in this industry, they sell the dream and they don't sell the actual work behind it. So it just
Mhm.
felt a little bit unrealistic. Like how do you work 2 hours a day and you make 20K a month? That was kind of the outcome that a lot of people were putting online. And then obviously it's a very new concept, thinking that you can actually make money online. Like it doesn't feel like real money. Super
Mhm.
weird. So I was definitely very skeptical, and I wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah, 100%. And how about mentorship? Because you reached out looking for help. What made you do that? Why not just try independently?
Well, I always knew that if you really want to succeed in something, you're gonna need someone to help you, pave the way. Like it's like you go to school and you have a teacher. You go to university, you have the teachers. Like you have your mom to teach you your way in life. Like it's you always need someone to kind of guide you. I think if I was to do it by myself, it would take me years to get where I am now. And also just a lot of information, having, like someone there to like push you,
Yeah.
and being there for you, I think is really, really important.
100%. And if you can kind of walk us back to our call, I'm not sure if you remember it. Like I really, like we were just talking before we started, I really vividly do remember that call. Like, how are you feeling? Because like we said, there was a lot of fear. That call went on for a long time. Like what was coming up for you in the moment that kind of I don't know, made you feel that way, made you feel so scared, do you think?
You know what? I remember that call, but I almost felt like I blacked out.
Yeah,
That's
I get
how fearful I was. It was insane. Like I was so excited for it, and then as soon as I realized, like, oh, this is actually might be happening, I was like, I've been taught since young, like online money isn't real, like don't get your hopes up, and I almost thought like this isn't like it's not normal, like
Yeah.
and I just it's such a new concept that I just remember thinking like this isn't real life, and I was just like, no.
Yeah,
But
totally, 100%. Because I think our call went so well. You were like, I'm ready, I'm doing this, I'm motivated. I was like, okay, then let's go. And you were like, no, 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 no. It was really funny, like thinking about looking back on. But it's also the reality of things, right? Like we were discussing earlier. Most people don't know, like, don't have friends, don't have family in the online space. Like, it's very, very daunting. We're taught to go, and I say this a lot, but we're taught to go in a very specific path into a very specific thing to keep us, like, quote unquote, safe and follow the crowd. So when you break outside of the norm, both in your mind and then telling maybe your family and people around you, you think you're crazy or people think you're crazy or it can't possibly be true, which makes sense because we've had years of programming. So I'd love to know like what has been your perspective of being surrounded by other women, right, within the program, just like you and having that, because I'm pretty sure you don't know anyone else in personal life that does something like this.
no, yeah, no, I don't know anyone in my personal life that works in sales or kind of online in general. So having the community of girls is so lovely. Like I feel like everybody has all the same mindset, like that same work ethic, which I also think is hard to find people like that, like one-on-one just in the world, like
Mm.
having girls that have this like really strong work ethic and they have these goals, and that are just so open and welcoming. Like there's no weird like competition or like some weird girl sort of fights going on. Like it's all very lovely and everybody has the same mindset, and it's really empowering being with a group of women that just all thrive to like have that financial independence, and they're just so motivated.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think something that I definitely never had coming into the space. And I think to be able to kind of open up when you've had a bad day, like we discussed, even you and me, kind of aside from the community, when you're like, you know what, I'm struggling with this, what do I do? And for us to be able to talk back and forth and for another woman to know how you feel and to be able to give you that support, I think is pretty important in the space. Do you feel it's benefit? Well, I know it's benefited you, but what's been your perspective on that?
Yeah, no, it's very judgment free, which I love. Like I remember I got on the training call one time and I was like, Shelly, like I'm done. Like I'm working. Like I need to do something. And there would be other girls also on the call where they're just like, maybe today's not an easy day, or I'm feeling a bit tired, like I'm feeling a bit stuck. And I just love that everybody is so supportive, and they're just like, you got this, like let's help, like let's do role plays, let's do this. Like it's very much a community. And it's a lovely thing.
100%. I'm glad you feel that way. And how did you feel coming into my program? So we had our call. Obviously, it took some kind of I don't want to say convincing because I don't like that word, but it took a bit of like convincing to get you in. And once you were in, how did you feel coming into like the online mentorship, something completely new, like online learning? How was that for you?
As soon as I actually got over that hurdle of like, what, like feel the fear and do it anyways sort of thing, I was actually so excited and so thrilled. I was very grateful that like you were there objection handling me, because wasn't for you, I don't think I would be here. But I was actually very exciting, which I wasn't expecting. I think before investing in myself, I was a bit like very nervous and very skeptical. And then as soon as that happened, I just felt so like a weight being lifted off almost.
Mm.
Just talking on the group chat, going, "Hi, girls, like I'm here," and everybody's just replying and super happy.
Yeah.
It was a very uplifting feeling.
Yeah, I often think that, and it's easy to say in hindsight. But when you're in it, I'm like, trust me, when you're in, you're gonna feel so relieved. But it's like until you do it, until you jump, and it is such a personal journey that I think it has to come with you. There was nothing I could have said, nor would I have wanted to like quote unquote persuade you. You had to be like, okay, I am going to do this for me, which obviously you did and I love. And I guess let's say if there's someone else, let's say I'm speaking to, or one of my team speaking to, and they feel the same and they're like, I'd love to, but it's just too scary. Like, how would you describe the program to them from someone on the outside?
Not scary. No, I know that sounds a bit like. I think if I was to tell, I think the scariest part is the jumping into it. But the program itself is just so, I can't even explain. It's so simplified yet so like well put together. I can't even explain it. And it's just such a lovely community that it's worth like every penny, and more. It's definitely, it's a lot scarier coming into it than when you're actually in it. I think like anyone going through that situation where I was so fearful, trust me, I have been there, and
Yeah.
I don't never regret it for 1 second, investing in myself and taking this leap of faith and trusting Shelley and her program. And it's just amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd love to talk about your journey because, like we said, it hasn't been sunshine and rainbows. And there may have been times where you even felt like, should I have ever done this? Like, I'd love to know how has this journey been for you over the past few months before we got you on this dream offer? Like, what was that like for you? Because I think it's important for people to see that it's not just you click your fingers and you make 10K or this, that, the other. It takes sometimes people do, and that's great. But for others, it takes a bit of time. So, what's your journey been like?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's been there's ups and there's downs, definitely. Like, which is also something that I know Shelley always preaches about. Like, it's not just easy. Like, there will be ups, there will be downs. So coming into this, I was obviously still working my full-time job, and I started on this offer. And oh my goodness, I remember telling Shelley, like, Shelley, what is going on? Like, this isn't for me. I loved the experience. I loved getting my feet wet, I guess you could say, but it was definitely difficult coming into it, while working a full-time job and then starting something else part-time, and it's not going well. Like, you'd put in a lot of the effort and you wouldn't get compensated for it. And then I remember talking back and forth. I tried another offer, same sort of thing. Really great experience, great learning, but I wasn't getting anything for it. And I remember feeling a bit like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working so hard towards this, and I see all these girls making so much money, and I'm kind of just sat here like, where's my turn? It was definitely, it was mixed feelings because I was so grateful. Each time I had a really great team and great support.
Mhm.
People would help me build up my skill and my learning, but at the same time, I wasn't getting compensated for the work that I was putting in.
Mhm.
And it was hard, you know, it was definitely hard. But I just remember thinking, like, this is not the end of it. You know, like you got to keep going until you get to the goal that you want to achieve. Because at the end of the day, like you've got to keep going. Because if you just stop, then there's no point in doing anything, to be honest.
And why didn't you quit? Because most people would have quit. Like I know for a fact from doing my job that people would have quit. Why didn't you?
I just always knew that this was not like the end. Like this is not the end result of it. Like I always knew that at the end of the day, either you, Shelley, will help me or I will find a different offer because I always knew it wasn't my work ethic that was the issue, like deep down. And so, and I had this goal and this vision that I wanted to achieve, and I didn't allow myself to quit. Also, I think just the pressure of like when you invest in yourself and you use your own like money to invest in yourself, you don't want to, at least for me, it was like, I need to make it worth it. You know, like I'm not going to stop until I almost like get that investment back in a weird way.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I love that 100% because it's not like we've said, there are some times you might come in and I say this to every single person who joins the program, like you may land a job in 2, 3 weeks and it may pay you everything you want and it may be perfect. Or it may take longer. We don't know that. All you can control is what you're doing. All you can control is your input, showing up every day, like you attended live calls even when you were on offers that weren't paying you. Like, trust me, not many people do that. People just kind of like bury their head in the sand and blame everyone else. And maybe you did a bit of that behind the scenes, but you never once came to me and blamed me or anything else. You were always like, what can I do to be better? Like, what can I do to make this happen, which is why when this opportunity came around, which I knew would be life changing, there was no one that I thought would be a better fit than you, which obviously brings us to more of a positive side, like your new offer now. How has that been for you? Kind of coming in your first ever month, you've made 8K. Like, what's this been like?
Almost unreal. If I'm being honest with you, like it was so like I could finally almost breathe in a weird way. Like I'm finally like the amount of work and effort and days that were just like not obviously there were days where I just didn't want to work, but I still did really pull off everything in the end. Like being in an offer where you can see the offer itself is so great. The team members, like the whole team is just amazing. Like the trainings, the support, and then obviously getting compensated for your work is it's almost unrealistic. It's still a bit weird to me, the online money. Like it's still the fearful prospect where I'm just like, this isn't real. Like
Sure.
it definitely is. So it's like a breath of fresh air, honestly. And I'm so grateful actually that I went through a bit of the trenches to get there because it makes me just so much more grateful for the offer that I have now and put in so much more work because it's actually like worth it in the end. So
100%. And I preach this all the time. And I know it's easy for me to say, but I think you'll 100% agree now is the woman you want to be is made on the journey. It is not the destination. Like people think, obviously, this is your first big month and you're going to have many more you'll get more used to it and you'll get more accustomed to it and you'll have bigger goals and whatnot. I'm absolutely sure of it. But if you would have had this 8K month in your first month, you wouldn't have been the same person. Like now there's so many facets to it, which I think is fascinating. But many people come to me and like, I just want to be a 20K a month closer. And obviously closing is maybe the next step for you. And that's a whole new conversation we'll get onto. But everyone wants to be the person that they see on Instagram or make the money that they see. But there's a whole journey behind it to become that woman who can withhold that level of wealth and build it and sustain it and grow it? Like, what's your perspective on that?
No, 100%. And I've always thought like easy money isn't, it's even less realistic. I think knowing that I worked for where I am now and like I've gone through the really hard times to get to the good times is makes it so much nicer actually. Like it actually makes it so much more grateful and just I'm just so happy that I actually got to experience a bit of the hard bit so that like now that it's so great, I can preach it but not lie about it, and like I said in the beginning, like coming into this, having people preach just the easy way, getting quick money, no work into it, never was realistic in my mind. Like I thought like you can get really good money from sales, but you do have to put in the work, and you do sometimes, like some people are super lucky and I'm so happy for them where they can just get on a really great offer straight off the bat. But me knowing like after also working so long as a hairdresser and working in the trenches and not getting compensated for it, I knew that coming into a whole new career, because whether you like it or not, this is like a whole new career. You need to start somewhere. You can't just start off the bat making tons of money. It doesn't really work that way. Whether it's an office job, hairdressing, whatever it is, you've got to start a bit in the trenches and work your way up. So,
100%. No, totally. I love that. And now you've just got a new puppy, which is one of your goals. Like, how does that feel to be able to like tick something like that off and achieve that?
oh my gosh, it feels so great. Like I've always, I've always wanted a puppy. I've always wanted a dog. Like that's just me. But I never was able to because I was working 12, 14 hours outside of, my home. I wasn't working remotely. I didn't want to have a puppy without, money in my bank account for a vet
Yeah.
or whatever it was and not being home. And I remember I came into this and I told my mom, like, I want to make 10K a month by the end of the year and I want a puppy. That was it.
Wow.
So I'm so grateful.
That's incredible. So we're in September, so we've got you're on 8K. I mean, I doubt that it's going to take you very long at all. Obviously, you're working alongside Karuna as well, who's done a very good job at achieving those targets. So for you, you're very much on track, if not exceeding those, would you say?
Yeah, no, 100%. I set all those goals not actually thinking that it was going to be
Wow.
realistic. So I'm
And
very,
here we are.
yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's what I did too. I wrote my goals down and I put them in a book. I do this every year actually. I put it in a book, shut the book, and then I don't look at it again, which everyone does different things, but for me, this works. And then I just get to work. I don't think about it. I don't have the dopamine rush of like, whatever. I'm just like, okay, what do I need to do now? And I just put my head down and I work, and then the goals come. It's pretty crazy. It feels like magic. I'm sure you probably felt the same. It's like, oh yeah, easy. I just did all this, and then because you forget everything you've done, um, that's amazing. I love that that was your goal. And what do your family think? Obviously, I'm sure they thought at first you were crazy, considering kind of you had a bit of a journey, but how have they been alongside kind of this journey?
Well, my mom has always been supportive. Believe it or not, I think a lot of girls coming into this, everybody's going to be a bit skeptical. Again, it's all online, like it's not very familiar. When I told my mom, she was just a bit like, yeah, like you do you, like if this is what you think is the right path. And I actually, that was the only person I told. Like, I didn't tell my friends or my sister, like, no one. I just told my mom because I didn't want that pressure or that sort of like, oh, it's a bit crazy. But once I actually started working and I wasn't, achieving everything that I wanted to, they were all a bit like, this is a bit weird. Like, why are you working so hard and like nothing's really coming out of it? And I was like, no, guys, like, just wait, like, just give me a second. And when I actually started on this new offer, that's when I told a bit more people. Um, and it's such a weird concept that some people just don't get it. Um, some people are super happy for me as they're like, as long as you're doing good, like that's great. So it's a bit of mixed emotions. Most everybody in my family or circle really support it, and they're just like, as long as you're doing what you think is good for you, then whatever. But I do
Yeah.
find it if I tell people that I just met, they go like, "What do you do for a job?" I'm like, "Oh, I work in sales online." They're like, "What? Like that's not real."
Yeah. 100%. Even I get that now. I actually recently joined a new like PT gym and they're like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, I help women get into sales. And I was like, what do I say? And before it was like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I'm not gonna say I'm a closer because or a salesperson because it's like people have such a misconception of sales. You kind of just you don't know what to say. Have you kind of found that too?
Yeah. And it's really hard explaining it to people, like, because most people don't even know this is a real world. I just say that most of the time, like, I'm just helping out people find their way into a program. Like, I don't really get into all of
The
it. It's such a weird concept for people outside of it. So,
Totally, 100%. I think I think with this industry, it's always best to, and I've noticed a bit of a trend, like you tell people close to you, but then you just kind of leave it at that because the more people, especially when you're starting out, obviously the more people you tell, the more opinions just kind of start creeping in. And most of the time they'll be negative because people think sales is scammy or, and people always have those opinions, but I guess you kind of just got to be like mentally strong enough, would you say, like resilient, just to ignore them and be certain with what you're doing and your decisions that you're going to just kind of get to where you want to be anyway.
100%. Yeah, you can't listen to people. They also, I think, a lot of people think salespeople are very manipulative and very like just liars or but I've always come into this and like, my morals are gonna be straight. There's no lying. Like it's actually quite the opposite. You're
Yeah,
in the end, you're helping people
yeah,
better their lives, you know? If you're in a really shady, weird offer, then okay, maybe it's not the best, but that's why there's so many offers out there that are actually changing people's lives. I actually feel like I'm helping someone, which is always
yeah.
such a great belief of mine. It's as long as I'm doing something that's helping people and I'm not manipulating, I'm not, gaslighting them into investing in themselves to change their future. So I think that's the other thing. You just got to ignore it and just stick your ground.
100%. No, totally. And what's a day in the life look like for you now? Like, what does it actually take to make $8,000 in a month?
You know what? The first few weeks coming into this month, I just put my head down and I didn't look up. Like I would wake up, team meeting, maybe have some lunch because I'm in Europe, so I work US times, but and then put my head down and I wouldn't stop until like 1, 2 in the morning, which is a bit crazy. And now that I've gotten a bit more like, okay, it's all right, like we can take a breather. It's really lovely. Like you wake up, you do your thing in the morning, have the team meeting, connect with people, go through the calendar, like just speak to people, which I also always love doing throughout your day. And then it's pretty much it. And then, if you want to have lunch in between with your friends or whatever you can, you can just relax. Now I'm running around with my new puppy in the house. So it's just lovely. And then every so often when you need a breather or you need to like it's gotten very overwhelming or something, you just take a walk. You're not stuck in an office where you cannot leave for 8 hours straight.
100%. And what does your job actually entail? Like for anyone completely new, they're thinking, wow, you just live such a nice life. Like that still can't be real. Like what do you actually do when you're in work?
So what do I do? I sit, I talk to people that are, booked in the calendar to speak about the program that I'm in. And I just talk to them. I see where they are, what their goals are, why they've maybe looking into this, seeing if they would be honestly a great fit or not, and then either putting them through or showing them a different path. So that's pretty much it. You're just talking to people pretty much every day, a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different religions, different everything, and different goals in life. So it's very interesting actually getting to know. such a broad amount of people and realizing all the different like avatars, I guess you could say, that are out there.
Totally, 100%. And you are very similar to me because I was obviously in the UK when I used to work that offer because for anyone who doesn't know, I used to work on that offer too. That was my second ever offer. And I obviously had all the morning free, the afternoon free. I'd go for like brunch with my mum pretty much daily, and then I'd start work. And then, yes, working till like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. may sound crazy to the people who work 9 to 5s, but you're not working from like 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. You're probably working from like 3 p.m. till like 1 a.m. or something. So how have you found that? Like not doing the traditional hours and having like your mornings and working the evenings. What's that been like?
Honestly, amazing. Like I've always preferred that. I've never been a morning person myself. If I'm being honest, I've never liked having to wake up at 7 in the morning, rushing to get to work, going on either my car transportation to work. It's honestly so nice. Being able to wake up calmly. I have brunch also with my mom or my sister. I walk around. I have the mornings open. I go to the gym. And then I slowly start getting into work. And then I'd start working in the afternoon and then going up until 1 in the morning or midnight or whatever it is. I feel like even when I was working the typical like 9 to 5 job, you would still stay up until those times, whether you're scrolling on TikTok or watching Netflix. So my schedule itself has not changed. I'm just making money instead of scrolling on TikTok. So
Bit of a hack.
that's pretty much it.
I love that. And how has life changed for you, Isabel?
Honestly, I thought making heaps amount of money was going to change my life like crazy. The only thing, and it has, but the main thing for me that's changed is the stress. Like I don't have to, keep looking at my bank account, worried about, this 20 euro meal that I'm gonna have, or thinking like, oh, yeah, just the typical life stresses. Like you go to a cafe, like now I can go into a cafe. It's such a weird thing, but I can go into a cafe and not be stressed like at all, like starting calculating how much I'm gonna spend. And then it's such a weight being lifted off your shoulders when you're just not stressed about money. So that's pretty much how it impacted my life.
I love that. And I totally relate to that. It's not weird at all. That for me was, I think we were in a very similar situation actually, which is why I think I wanted to help you so much when we met. Because for so long before I got into sales, I was in the same place. I was like working super, super hard, not getting paid for it. I was living out from home. I was in scarcity. Like you said, I was like calculating everything, even doing a food shop. Like, can I get this? But I can't afford it. Or buying a coffee. Like, I'd love to get a coffee every single morning, but I couldn't because of it was like £3 and that would all add up. Like, silly things that you don't really want to admit at the time. Like, I personally didn't want to admit. I was like, I hated that situation to now being able to, I think when you see the money come in, you'll do anything. Like you don't mind working until 12, 1, 2, because that for you is then freedom on the other side on your days off with your family, maybe taking your mum somewhere, or that is what it's all for. What do you think?
No, that's exactly it. It's such a, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but that's not true.
Does.
Really not true. Like money does because when you're so stressed up and worked up about such little things that in the broad aspect it seems like nothing, but it can make such an impactful thing on your day-to-day life. Removing all of that and just being able to go like, today I feel like eating out, or today I want to go to the spa, and I don't have to worry about, but what's my balance going to be at the end of the month, or about how much will I be able to save, it's it's such a relief, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's a really great feeling.
Yeah. I love that for you 100%. And I'd love to know what has been your biggest learnings from working with me and from being on this journey.
My biggest learning, that's a great question. There's been so many. I think personally mine is the mindset. And I know you're quite big on that too, which I absolutely love, is you have to kind of switch your mindset when you come into this. Like, I always have been someone that's loved working, working hard, but you can't let like your mind take over like your actions, if that makes sense at all coming into sales. Like, you've got to keep going, no matter what. Like, bad days, good days, like some days you're not going to want to do it, but just knowing that your mindset's just like, no, but this is where your goals, this is where you want to be, and you're actually working towards it, is such a big lesson that I think I had to take. Also, just getting over my fear. That was the biggest lesson I had to take in the beginning, just feeling the fear and doing it anyways.
Yeah, totally. What's your goals from here? Where do you want to be? 6 to 12 months, or maybe even by the end of the year? Like, do you have any goals you're looking to achieve?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I actually recently, because I moved, I went away, I came back, I also say like I quit everything and I put all my trust into Shelly, even when I was in the trenches. So my goals now is to get my own house, and I want to become a closer in a few months' time. And I don't really have any, obviously, I have like the financial goals I want to hit and like, the big 10K and then the 15 and the 20. But for me, it's more just really sharpening my skill and having that freedom, having a really nice house, having a routine, and just keep living life. That's pretty much my goal.
Totally. I can't wait for you to become a closer. I think, um, especially if you can become a closer on the offer you're on, life's gonna be crazy. You're gonna be able to have that house in no time,
Yeah,
100%.
definitely.
Very, yeah. Oh, I love that for you, 100%. And I guess just to summarize, I've really loved this call and just to see like your very genuine outlook on kind of the journey and kind of what's led you here. So there's going to be girls watching this, girls just like you when you kind of joined me in the program. Also, like we said at the beginning, you watched these case studies and you said, that's going to be me one day. And here we are. So there's going to be girls thinking that. There's going to be girls thinking, I want to do this, but I am petrified, or no one thinks it's a good idea, or XYZ, or can I afford it? Like, what would you say to them? They're sitting on the fence, they want to book a call with us, but they're scared.
I would honestly say, like, I've been there, and genuinely, like, it's so scary, but it's so real. Like, it's not fake. Is my main thing. Like, it can be you. Because I was also always thinking, like, like some people are just lucky when it comes to life, and I'm just not one of those lucky people. I was very much my own imposter. And if you're on the fence because of that, you think like, I'm just not one of the lucky ones. It's never been me. It can be you. Like, you just gotta bet on yourself. And at least me growing up, I've always had that feeling where I'm meant for more. Like, when it comes working financially, like, if you're the type it takes to achieve something, just do it. Put that same mindset towards yourself and not only your work, and just do it.
Totally. I love that. And I think that's the common theme amongst all of us within the program. We know we're meant for more, and we're not going to settle until we get it. So I love that you said that. Isabel, thank you so, so much for joining us. I know you are going to be a huge inspiration for so many women watching this. So, yeah, I really appreciate your time. And yeah, if you are a woman watching this, sitting on the fence thinking, I want to be like Isabel. You can. And this may take time and there'll be a journey ahead. There's going to be ups and downs, but you are capable of achieving this too. So we'll have a link in the bio. You can book a call, fill out the form with myself or my team. We'll have a chat, see if it's the right fit. And if it is, we'll get to work. But yeah, lovely to see you, Isabel, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.